Bill Gates is a staunch advocate for actions to combat climate change, and in his latest book, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster, he lays out the priorities he thinks the world should adopt to accelerate the transition to a society with zero net greenhouse gas emissions. In this episode, we will reveal the best takeaways from his book. In recent years, Gates, who co-founded Microsoft Corporation with his wife Melinda Gates, has focused his energy on promoting social justice and global health programs through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The foundation has started supporting studies of new technologies that can help in the fight against climate change and its associated greenhouse gas emissions. That humans must cease emitting greenhouse gases into the atmosphere is key to Bill Gates' climate change.
We need to get from 51 billion tons to zero while still meeting the planet's basic needs. That means we need to transform the way we do almost everything.
We've rounded up the 5 most important takeaways from Bill Gates' climate change book to help you understand why climate change is this century's most pressing issue, given the difficulty of comprehending how certain actions, whether committed by individuals, corporations, or governments, can stand in the way of our work to achieve net zero emissions. Now, before we talk about how we are going to go about it, let's begin with the nations who are going to suffer most. 5. The poorest nations will suffer the most. Now, climate change is increasing the severity of natural catastrophes, which is driving millions of people from their homes and threatening their livelihoods as farmland is ruined by unprecedented floods, droughts, and heat waves. Soberingly, the world's poorest nations will be hit worst by climate change, despite making the smallest contribution to the problem as described in the Bill Gates climate change book. The climate is changing in ways that will be challenging for relatively well-off farmers in America and Europe, but potentially deadly for low-income ones in Africa and Asia. Gates says, "The effects of a warming planet are already being felt in many developing countries, proving that this is not a concern of the distant future, as Gates demonstrates with several case studies. For example, in Bangladesh, where over 30% of the land has been flooded and crops and people have been wiped off, increasing sea levels are already a major problem." Although developing countries suffer disproportionately from the effects of climate change, Gates argues that they cannot be held back any further by being required to follow the same policies as wealthy ones. Because rich countries release too much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, Gates argues, we can't expect poor people to stay impoverished. Rather, we should make it possible for low-income individuals to climb the ladder without worsening climate change. Here on this channel, we provide you with all the latest on Bill Gates' activities as well as financial literacy updates. So, subscribe and turn on notifications. 4. How do we go about doing this? Moving on, Bill Gates' climate change plan proposes that developing nations adopt clean energy by reducing the price of green premiums, or the premium paid for selecting a low-emissions technology over one that emits more greenhouse gases. Bill Gates' environmental projects suggest we can build environmentally friendly technologies with the support of new ideas and substantial funding.
There's so many dollars.
Because it is such a massive project and will require creativity to build what we need to get to net zero emissions, convincing people to take action on climate change can be challenging. Though wealthy nations could be wary of the long wait for a return on investments, Gates considers this a business opportunity. Gates predicts that in the future decades, the nations that are the most successful in establishing great zero-carbon enterprises and industries will be the ones to drive the global economy. The people of the world's developing economies will be eager to buy from the companies that makes the first truly global, inexpensive energy breakthrough. Gates not only recognizes current industries the world can invest in, including renewable energy sources, while writing about a variety of innovations that have the potential to lower our carbon footprints, such as a technology that can absorb the carbon dioxide generated during the cement making process. Apart from the solutions he provides, he also elaborates on us contacting everyone we know. We will get into this later on in the video. For Gates, the key to the simultaneous use of clean energy sources like nuclear power is the improvement of such resources. Risky as it may be, investing in cutting-edge technologies has the potential to improve the efficiency and safety with which nations harness renewable energy sources and utilize other commodities. 3. Governments should enact policies that promote sustainable lifestyles. Apparently, getting to zero net greenhouse gas emissions can't rely on the private sector alone.
Government leaders have to enact new policies that drive the market for clean energy.
Changes and new policies must be implemented by governments to promote technological innovation and environmentally friendly practices. As one area where policy can help address climate change, Gates cites forest loss as an example. Trees are felled not because individuals are bad, but when the incentives to do so are higher than the motivations to leave them alone, he adds. As a result, we need political and economic solutions, including paying countries to maintain their forest, implementing legislation designed to protect certain areas, and ensuring rural communities have other economic possibilities so they don't have to exploit natural resources just to survive.
Yay!
Every policy choice, from how to help farmers who are hardest hit by a changing climate to how to promote the sale of electric vehicles, must take climate change into account. The right policies can also make it easier for businesses to invest in environmentally friendly technologies. According to Gates, if we include in the environmental damage caused by fossil fuels into their price, we will see more investment in clean technologies, which will pay off in the long term. We would love to hear from you. Do you think this take on government enacting these policies will pan out? Tell us what you think down in the comment section below. 2. We must learn to adapt to new circumstances. Also, Bill Gates' climate change book emphasizes the pervasiveness of fossil fuels and the abundance of systems that produce greenhouse gas emissions. In order to effectively tackle climate change, people everywhere will need to adjust their perspectives and actions. Animal agriculture in the European Union is responsible for 502 million tons of annual carbon dioxide emissions. More than a third of global warming gases can be attributed to the food chain. Technology, such as a smart bin that reports an individual's carbon footprint depending on the food they discarded, can mitigate the negative effects of food waste. As more individuals opt for vegetarian diets and plant-based proteins, eating less meat can also have a significant impact on lowering global warming emissions. Whether or not we achieve our climate targets depends critically on us altering our routines, from rethinking our vacation trips to cutting down on our food waste. 1. Contact everyone we know. Next, Gates warns that if the world doesn't start taking action on climate change soon, the current effects will only worsen. The planet is heating up, and it's all our fault. The consequences have been disastrous thus far, and they're only going to get worse. When it finally hits, the effects will be catastrophic, Gates says. How about in 30 years? 50 years? It's hard to say for sure because of the lack of information.
It's a real lifesaver.
Even if the worst case scenario doesn't happen for another 50 years, we still need to act today because of how difficult the problem is. When it comes to combating climate change, young people will and already are at the forefront. Global citizens must lobby their governments for measures such as increased funding for renewable energy and higher prices for products with high greenhouse gas emissions. However, people will only make real headway if they engage in conversations about the dangers of climate change with their loved ones. Change is inevitable once enough people become aware of climate change and the measures we can take to counteract it. If you remember nothing else from Bill Gates' climate change book, at least remember this: no one can get to zero emissions unless everyone does their share. If you are interested in Bill Gates, his companies and investment portfolio, then check out this video, Bill Gates' companies list that boast Gates' investment portfolio. See you soon in the next.